Uh, as we all know, the title of this workshop is on blue economy, and blue economy is actually, it is about sustainable use of marine resources. So sustainability is ingrained into the term blue economy. And I think in that respect, it's very apt that the sustainability comes in the forefront of this workshop as well. I will now switch over to my PowerPoint presentation. Marine fisheries, we all of us know about the importance of marine fisheries, but I would like to just refresh that the marine fisheries is the largest food production system to derive raw material from nature. So in the year 2018, according to FAO, the global fish production from marine capture fisheries was 97 million tons. And in India, it was 3.5 million tons from India. And this India's contribution constitutes about 3.6 or 3.7% to the total global capture fisheries production from the marine sector. And one of the important aspects of marine fisheries is that it is one of the most traded food products internationally. About 37% of the production, that is more than 1/3 of the production, actually is traded internationally. That is one of the main aspects of marine fisheries. Then another important aspect is that it generates large-scale employment. FAO again gives the data that 39 million people are engaged in marine capture fisheries globally in the primary sector. That is on a global scale. And in India, it is about 2 million people are engaged in the marine capture fisheries, not only for fishing, but also not only in fishing, but also in the allied activities like trade, processing, etc. And the income globally from marine fisheries is about 151 billion US dollars, whereas in India it is about 7 billion. This is actually the value of the marine fish that is being landed. So if you see the total production, which was about 3.7% to the total global production, then as far as the value and the income is concerned, India's share is about 5.5% to the total share from the global fishery. So it means that and also if you see the employment, it is also again 5.5%. So India employs more people related to the other countries, but as far as the production is concerned, it is relatively less. The contribution is relatively less. So it gives the idea that how much the livelihood is important, the employment is important in the marine fisheries sector as far as India is concerned. The number of fish stocks at a biologically sustainable level is declining, even though the marine fisheries is very, very important in terms of production, in terms of trade, as well as in terms of livelihood. One of the important, rather disturbing trend which you have to note is that the fish stocks which are being captured at biologically sustainable level is declining. So again, according to FAO 2020, if you see in 1974, if you take the global fish stocks, about 85% of the fish stocks, or nearly 90%, I would put it as 90% of the fish stocks were biologically sustainable level. It was, but if you take the 2017 in a period of about 43 years, you can see that the stocks that are exploited at sustainable level has declined to about 65%. So from about 90%, Now you can say that only about 2/3 of the fish stocks present globally is being fished at biological sustainable level. So remaining are either most of the remaining stocks are being exploited at biologically unsustainable level. So if you take the Indian Ocean, the situation is not very much different. If you see, the overfished stocks are about 22%, and the fully fished stocks are about 2/3, about 66%. But still, there are about 12% of the stocks which are not fully exploited. So in Indian Ocean, also you see that 22, more than 1/5 of the stocks are being overfished, and 2/3 are about to fully fish. So this data brings into light the importance of fishing at a sustainable level. That is, importance of bringing back the fish stocks at a biologically sustainable level. I think that is becoming more and more important if you want to sustain the marine fisheries globally, as well as in the Indian Ocean. When I talk about Indian Ocean, the situation in India, I would say, is almost similar to what we observe in the Indian Ocean scenario. So when we talk that the unsustainable stocks are increasing, so what is the reason? What are the causes for the unsustainability of those resources? We could put these risks in, or the stressors, into four major categories. One is overfishing, which I think by far the greatest risk to achieve sustainability. And then the second stressor is the pollution. When we talk about pollution, it mainly is because of the river runoff, the agricultural waste, the sewage waste, and also nowadays we are hearing more and more about marine debris, the marine plastics, which also are the nanoparticles of plastics are getting integrated into the tissues of the fishes and the other organisms which we are consuming. So this is going to cause quite a lot of damage to our human health because of this. And there are many reports that are coming out of this danger caused to this because of this pollution. The next one is the habitat degradation. And this habitat degradation is mainly the degradation of critical habitats like the coral reefs, the mangroves, the seagrass beds, the coastal areas, which are important habitats as for shelter, for food, as well as for the spawning purposes. And because of a lot of changes in the land use pattern, these habitats, particularly the coastal habitats, are getting degraded due to tourism, due to many other factors, land use pattern, constructions. These habitats are getting damaged. So that plays a major role, negative role in the life history of many of these fishes, as well as the other shellfishes. And then the fourth important factor, which is emerging now, and it is assuming greater proportion, sustaining the fisheries. How exactly we can do that? Is that I have put it under three major heads. One is that we have to leave enough fish in the sea, and then respecting the habitats and also maintaining the livelihood. See, we have the level that can continue indefinitely. So the level at which we are fishing, to fish at a sustainable level. The research results in India. Now from this line onwards, what I'm going to show is mostly related to Indian marine fisheries. So as far as India is concerned, the analysis shows that we have nearly 200,000 motorized boats. So the present level of production of about 3.5 million tons could be achieved at half of the fleet that is existing now. So if there are about 70,000 mechanized boats, 35,000 is sufficient to harvest the same level of fish. So that shows that there is a over capacity, and the fishing effort is also quite high. So we have to fish at a level that is the right level for indefinitely or sustainably fishing the fish stocks. And then we have to also ensure that the fish population remains productive and also it is healthy. So we have to see that the biological aspects of the fish have to be respected, and it has to be maintained. For example, we talk about the growth overfishing, the recruitment overfishing. So this shows that we have to leave enough adult fishes for spawning, and also we have to fish. We should not fish very juvenile fishes. We should allow them to grow to a particular stage, and then only we can catch. So these factors only will make the fish population more productive and also make them healthy. So healthy, again, it depends that the water should be unpolluted. So we have to fish at a level which is optimum, and also we have to fish at relatively improved and productive types of fishes. And then respecting habitats, we have to minimize the negative impacts on the habitats. Like if you talk about the coral reefs, we have to reduce the negative impacts. We should not allow fishing in that area so that we don't harm the coral reefs. And also we have to, climate change is another important factor. So what can be done is that we have to minimize impact, that we have to have no fishing zone or marine protected areas, which will make those habitats healthy. And then that makes the other species in that habitat also healthy. So it's not that only the fish should be healthy or it should be productive. The other organisms which support the fish in the form of food, also in the form of predating on the fishes, they also should be healthy. So to control as well as to support the fish stocks. So the chairperson was mentioning in her address that it's not that we should have to concentrate on fish, but we have to concentrate or focus on the sustainability of fishes of species other than the fishes, and also we have to make the ecosystem healthy. And then the maintaining a livelihood is another important aspect. As we know, the fishing, the livelihood is very much a very relevant factor, very important factor as far as sustaining marine fisheries is concerned. So securing the income of the stakeholders, particularly the fishing community as well as the traders, securing their income is very important for sustaining the fishery, and also empowering the community in the form of particularly the women as well as the men folk as well. That is providing them access to the fish stocks, access to the areas where they are fishing, but at the same time regulate their activity. And also particularly to women, we need to give them more education and also empower the community. And the women should be given a prime spot. Not only many of them are doing business now, they are trading as vendors, but they have to play a major role in marine fisheries management. Their voice has to be heard in marine fisheries management as well. Then the Sustainable Development Goal 14, the life below water, is very important. It flags the many ideas of sustaining the fisheries. The goal of life below water is conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resource targets under the SDG 14. I have given the list of them. It actually covers all the main aspects of sustaining the fisheries, like prevent and reduce marine pollution, manage and protect coastal and marine ecosystems, address impacts of ocean acidification, which acidification is going to play a major role it's going to play a major role in not sustaining the fish stocks, and then restore the fish stocks, conserve 10% of coastal and marine areas, prevent certain forms of fisheries subsidies, increase benefit from sustainable use of marine resources, and then enhance the research capacity and also marine technology, provide access for small-scale artisanal fishermen, and then implement UN Convention on Law of the Sea. So it covers, these 10 targets cover most aspects of what is needed for sustaining the sustaining marine fisheries. I'll just focus on 2 points, that is restore fish stocks and prevent certain forms of fisheries subsidies in the coming 2 or 3 slides. So when you talk about restoration of fish stocks, there are 2 main aspects which are again focused, highlighted by the SDG Goal 14. One is to regulate fish removal or fish harvesting, and also end overfishing. So the box on the left-hand side implement the conventional fisheries management measures, which are already in place in different forms like MFRA or in the national fisheries policies. That is, control of fishing effort by license control is very much required. And then closed fishing season, spatial restriction for fishing, and minimum legal size implementation, measures, regulations, species protection, protected areas. These are already there. Many of these instruments are already there in different forms in the marine fisheries policies as well as in the Marine Fishing Regulation Acts. So what is required is full implementation. So the situation will be different between one fishery to the other fishery, between one area to the other area. So depending on the existing situation, we need to implement the conventional fisheries management measures. And at the same time, there are also opportunities which also have to be looked into, like moving towards output control measures, at least in a few selected fishery types, that is controlling the catches, or controlling the catches as the output control measure is possible if you take a few selected fishery types or fishing practices. I'm not going into the details, but this is something which we can look into in the days to come. And then restoration of degraded critical habitats, like replanting the plantation of mangroves, and then the coral reefs. I think these are some of the aspects which are already being done, but it needs strengthening. And then mainstreaming climate change into fisheries management initiatives, like in the MFRA and so in fisheries policies. I think we need to mainstream that we have to allocate funds for adapting to climate change, adapting fisheries into climate change. I think this is another important aspect, opportunities that has to be looked into. And then adopting ecosystem approach to fisheries management. EIFM is coming in a big way in several other countries. I think this also is an opportunity which India also has to maybe as a pilot scale in 2 or 3 locations, also in 2 or 3 fisheries. If EIFM can be on a pilot scale introduced, I think this is going to be a major initiative towards sustainability of fishery resources. The second aspect is restoration of fish stocks, is that there is a lot of emphasis given to end illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, that is the IUU fishing. And there are many aspects which we have to consider if we want to end IUU fishing. implementing and monitoring sustainable fisheries management plan. I think this is very important. That could be for individual fishery, like could be for trawl fishery, could be for ring seine fishery, or it could be for shark fishery. So we have to select the fisheries which need prioritized attention, and we have to develop a management plan. By I mean in India. So this is very important. We do not have specific fisheries management plan, which is very much required now. And then the second important aspect is that we have to strengthen monitoring, control, and surveillance system. Monitoring improving the catch documentation, introducing voluntary declaration of catches by the fishermen, and also like where they are fishing, the location where they are fishing. There are a lot of digital devices, devices are now in place for monitoring, control, and surveillance of the technology has come in a big way towards strengthening NCS. I think India is talking about digital technologies in several fronts. I think fisheries also has a very great scope of introducing digital technology particularly for the NCS system. And then implementing market access measures such as catch documentation and traceability schemes. Actually, now there are a lot of trade barriers now. India is an exporting country of fish and fishery products, fish products, but a lot of trade barriers are coming. Right now, India, the shrimp catch from capture fisheries cannot be exported to US. Already there is a ban. This is because the Indian fishery is capturing a lot of dolphins and turtles, maybe incidentally, but the shrimp trawlers, the gillnetters are capturing these. So the US has already banned the import of shrimps from India because capture fisheries in India, because the capture fisheries is now capturing a lot of dolphins, and so this type of trade barriers are coming. So we have to have traceability schemes from where these fishes are coming, from which gear, the source of fishing. I think traceability is also very much important now. And so engaging fishers, governments, and consumers to support fair, sustainable, and legal fisheries is very much important to end illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. What is IUU fishing? That is that it doesn't follow the national legislation, the national policy on fishing. So if this is not, if it contravenes the national fishing policy or fishing acts, then it means that that particular fishing activity is doing IUU fishing. If it doesn't report, if it misreports the catch, then it is it's a misreporting of the catch. And then if the fishery is not regulated properly, if it is not implemented, the national laws are not implemented, and if fishing is not regulated properly, it becomes unregulated. So to end illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing, engaging the fishermen, the governments, and consumers is very much required. What is required now is a preparation of a national plan of action on IUU fishing to combat IUU fishing. That is very much required, and several countries have prepared this, but India is yet to do it, started doing this. The next one is to prohibit certain forms of fisheries subsidy. So subsidy actually represents the transfer of funds from the public to the private sector, which helps to underpin activity and supports the profit. That is one main aspect of the subsidy. But many of the subsidies, which we call harmful subsidies, are key drivers towards to the race to fishing. I would put the subsidies into three major. It's not that all the subsidies are harmful. There are some good subsidies, for the subsidies which targets sustainable management. They are in fact good subsidies. So now if you talk about any MCS introducing any digital technology into fishing aspect, could be a sustainable management strategy. And any research activity which enhances stock replenishment could be a good subsidy. So anything on sustainable management, if any funds goes into sustainable management, that could be like if you think about introducing marine protected area, restriction of seasonal fishing ban, and give some incentive to the fishermen to follow the seasonal fishing ban, could be a good subsidy. But at the same time, if there is any subsidy which enhances the fishing capacity, like for example, more and more boat construction, more and more subsidy on fuel, which supports fishing capacity as well as increases the fishing effort, that could be a harmful subsidy. There are also ambiguous subsidies, for example, like developing offshore fishery could be a good subsidy in the beginning, but if it is not controlled or regulated properly, because offshore resources are highly vulnerable. So if they are not regulated properly, it could become harmful. So some of these subsidies could be ambiguous, and these have to be properly regulated in the initial stage itself. Otherwise, it becomes a harmful subsidy later. So subsidies have to be directed towards sustainability and responsible development and management. And there are a lot of pressure to India to direct the harmful subsidies towards good subsidies so that the fisheries is sustained. So but the challenge when we talk about the subsidies, when we talk about several regulations on fisheries management, is that these recommendations have to be accepted by the policymakers as well as by the other stakeholders, particularly the fishermen, as well as the traders, as well as the other stakeholders. So what is required is that it is necessary to strengthen science policy interface. It is also necessary to improve the understanding and capacity of governments and other stakeholders. So I think these are very much required. And so what is required is to consult and engage key stakeholders in scientific data collection and sharing information and developing policies and management plans. So what is required is that when the research project starts, when the scientific data collection is there, and when the scientific data is analyzed, and when it is interpreted, and also when the recommendations are developed towards policies and management plans, I think from the very beginning, there is a need to consult and engage the stakeholders to get their acceptance for whatever policies and recommendations are going to be suggested. I think this is one key aspect to getting the vetting of the policymakers as well as the stakeholders. So this is one important aspect in which India, I think, has to face this challenge and overcome this issue by having proper strategy to get the management recommendation vetted by the policymakers as well as the stakeholders. This is my last slide, but I don't want to complete my presentation on a negative side. So on the positive side, there are a lot of assessment globally that sustaining fisheries is possible. There are a lot of positive results that are coming now, particularly from the developed countries, and also to a limited extent from developing countries, that the fish stocks show increase where and whenever they are properly assessed and managed. So there are a lot of success stories that has been presented by Hilburn in his very thought-provoking scientific article in PNAS in the year 2020. And also there are also economic analysis by Sumaila et al. In the year 2012, who has advocated rebuilding programs also can restore the fish stocks, but it requires a lot of money to restore the global fish stocks to the tune of 203 billion US dollars. It may be required, but it would take 12 years for rebuilding those stocks for the benefits to suffer. So the cost of $200 billion or whatever it is can be surpassed by restoring the fish stocks to the earlier levels. So these are some positive aspects which shows that fish resources can be successfully rebuilt, and they can be made biologically and economically productive. So with this positive note, I complete my presentation, and thank you very much for your hearing.